Hello, good morning. Sharing some words of wisdom. Some ideas, I don't know, some opinion, put them on the table. Some people are interested. There's a story about the word consciousness. There is a philosopher in the beginning of 20th century. Eastern Europe, what's his name? He's well known. He was well known back then. Ivanov Gurdjieff. He speaks a lot about consciousness. He said that human being, all the problems are coming from human being because human being is asleep. In his book speaks a lot about this. During the time, the First World War, 1418, he said, it's very simple, because one person is asleep, killing another person who is asleep. He speaks about this and he said, this is the true religion, is consciousness. If there's no consciousness in religion, then there's no religion. One of the disciples, what he said to him, constantly talking about the word consciousness, Gurdjieff, and then one of the disciples, they were all of them, they were Christians. He said, you talk a lot about this, and what you are teaching immorality. Gurdjieff said, why is that? He's very stable, sage, listening to him. He said, why is that? He said, first of all, the word consciousness does not exist in the gospel. And all the time you say this is religion and this is a part of the teaching of religion. We Christians, we believe in the gospel. There's no such word existing in the gospel. Said, what are you teaching? What you're teaching something is considered like immoral. He said, first of all, I'm not teaching morality here. I'm teaching consciousness. I'm showing how to be independent thinker. Your willpower is... This philosopher said, talking about Gurdjieff, he said, it shows you that human being, even at the time when he is reading the gospel, he is reading the gospel while being asleep. He said, you don't move one page, turn one page or two without finding a word, consciousness, in the gospel. Of course, it didn't come with the word, with the term, this is the same terminology we have it today, but it shows you it's there if you know how to interpret it. There is no page 2, 1, 2, 3 without finding a word consciousness in the gospel. I was just looking myself, my own observation. He said, SubhanAllah, you read the Quran, there's no word consciousness, the word itself. But the whole Quran speaks about consciousness, dhikr. It doesn't find the dhakira, but the dhikr. He said, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِلذِّكْرِ. Pray such to have a conscious presence of mind. The Prophet says, the person doesn't have from his prayer except what he remembers, what he has presence of mind in it. He might have the half, maybe the half, maybe the eighth, maybe the quarter, maybe, he said, لا ينال من صلاته إلا ما عقل منها. The consciousness. So getting back to word consciousness, how important. Look at this person's observation. Even though he speaks about consciousness independently, not with God. This person, I don't even know his religion. Perhaps he is, I don't know, maybe he's an atheist. I have no idea. He doesn't preach Christianity. He doesn't preach any religion. He constantly speaks about consciousness. And believe me, he goes that far to link consciousness with the universe, with the galaxies, you cannot believe how this person, how kind of knowledge he has. The Greeks, ancient Greek, they deify nature. They deify, in other words, they say Poseidon is the god of, the oceans. Jupiter, they deify nature. Why? They say there is consciousness in nature. They use the word consciousness. It's something, there's a mixture. It's the same thing in Buddhism, in Taoism, in Hinduism. They say there is a soul and consciousness in nature. The thing is, they use this independently. In other words, even though I'm talking about the Greeks referring to the Greeks, they refer it to animism, consciousness in nature. Something that probably escaped their mind, even though they believe in the absolute. The Neoplatonism, they believe in the absolute. The thing is, they don't link it to human being. It's independently, its nature. Their human being is here. The link between human and God and nature, this is rarely. You find it only in monotheism, and more precisely in Islam. These words are not from the other orthodoxy in Islam. This is more, I should say, in Sufism. You understand those things for those who wrote about this. They are very deep. It's far beyond what a person can understand. As I said, what they say in science about gravity. Gravity is the one that is maintaining, speaking about the Milky Way, the solar system, that is maintaining, this is the gravity. It's a sort of magnetism controlling controlling the Milky Way. Now the science is into research, into search, into the process of determining that gravity is not only in Earth, in the other galaxies as well. Look what they say in talking about science when they speak about the Big Bang. The Big Bang, they say that the whole world, heaven, all those galaxies, and Earth, they were in one single agglomeration. And after the explosion, they start being dispersed. The Quran, they say this, God says the same thing. He said, don't they know? I'm talking about that he addressed this particularly to the disbelievers. Said, don't they know? Haven't they realized that heaven and earth, they were all both in one single agglomeration, and then we tore them apart asunder. Say, ألم ير الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما جعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي. This is when it comes to, look, expansion. The world is into expansion. In another verse, says Lord Father, he say, in Allah, God. He said, in the translation, he said, holds, يمسك السماوات والأرض أن تزولا. Say, يمسك السماوات والأرض, heaven and earth. It's not hold, it's to maintain by force. Meaning it has that kind of expansion, tendency to expand, but God is holding it by, he said, in the word he said, God holds the heavens and the earth lest they fall apart. Antazula. Zawal is to be removed, to be exterminated, to be, look at maintaining that. People, when they study science and nature, they speak about the gravity. God didn't say why. He wants to study and to limit yourself and to be, that's up to you. He said, ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ. Someone who wants to stick to the theory, to the theorem, and to the formula, good luck to you. He didn't say anything. God said, ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ. The problem with these people is when they deny what is beyond their circle. وَكَذَّبُوا بِمَا لَمْ يُحِيطُوا بِعِلْمِهِ. That's the problem. We're going to explain that. When God said you refer it, that's the creator who holds that. I'm talking about heavens and earth, what is in the galaxies. Why do we have to learn about these things? An expression, I mentioned it in front of some neurologists. They laughed. Years ago, when you want to learn about astrophysics, astronomy, they say that the number of galaxies, they gave a number, say 200 billion. 200 billion. At the same time, I was paying attention to the synapse inside the person's brain. They were like that. But nobody spoke about the link between the two, between the macrocosm and the microcosm, which is human's mind, brain. Lately, now today, they speak about trillions. You know, trillions, what's that means? 1 billion billion, you know, trillions. And the same thing, similar in a person's mind. That is the macrocosm, and this is the microcosm. What is the role of a human being? Well, we say he is the microcosm. No. The world is into expansion. God said it. It is into expansion. It's exactly the brain, human's brain is into expansion. When there is a submission from his part by his consciousness, getting back to our beginning, you know, the beginning we speak about consciousness, is to allow, just to let it be. Human being, by having this kind of because of such and therefore, which this is what, and avoiding worship, being independent, he is blocking his microcosm from being similar with the flow of the macrocosm. It's exactly his consciousness, decisions, wherever, is to allow and to let it be. That is the mesocosm between the two. Holding, you have in religion what God gave about religion is to maintain your own heaven in your own objective world that you are going to navigate. What you see in religion, you see obligations that you have to fulfill. They are contradicting a force. There is a force holding you back. And you fulfill those obligations. There's a force, there's a struggle. Another thing is prohibitions. There's a prohibition. Don't cross it. So we have forces of obtention and the forces of abstention. These forces, God gave you this. He did not tell us, look, what are you going to do? This is up to you to think. He is giving you what is in his power, that is illimited, and it is similar giving it to you through these kind of ibadat, worship under the lordship, to develop your own heaven in your brain. Once a person leaves this world, if you tell a person, in other words, if a person really knows that he is preparing the consciousness, it's because of the consciousness that has going to be able to navigate in the microcosm and macrocosm. How many times it is mentioned in the Quran, samawat, heavens and earth, heavens and earth. How many times cannot, it's uncountable number of times. God, one time, by inspiration, divine inspiration, Moses asked God, he said, peace be upon him, he said, God, do you sleep? He said that Moses, take a container full of water and stay with it, standing still. He stood there for a while and then he fell asleep and it dropped from his hand. He realized that was an experiment. God told him, oh Moses, if I sleep, if there is one moment of unconsciousness, we don't say consciousness, we just want to understand it. Unconsciousness heaven would fall on the earth. It would be cataclysm. Now we understand consciousness is a presence of mind. Human being in this earth, he is collecting consciousness. Consciousness, the segments of time of consciousness, presence of him with his creator, while fulfilling sometimes obligations or prohibitions. This is the true existence that he's going to leave this world with. Consciousness, there is no consciousness. The person is an automaton. An automaton is the one who is behaving without conscious awareness. As you can see today, only the reflection of unconsciousness, if a person knows what is his conscience, the state of consciousness, as Gurdjieff said it, he lived up to the Second World War, Ivanov Gurdjieff. He died in 1949, I think. He said, it is very simple why people are killing each other, because there is no consciousness. Is a person, he dropped. Consciousness became self-absorbed. He wants to impose his God, complex God of complex on people. And this is what's going on about this greed and killing and this. Thank you for sharing. And God bless you. See you soon.